Joining us now, we're glad to have him, the head baseball coach for the Oklahoma State Cowboys, Josh Holliday. I know he'd like to be getting ready for a camp session right now with some young pups out there on the diamond with his staff and doing those kind of things. Or actually, I'm trying to think on the date wise. I think he'd probably still rather be in Omaha. I don't think we'd be done with that yet. Either way, he'd like to be doing some baseball, but he's talking to us, and we'll be glad about that. Josh, good morning.
Good morning, Robert. How are you?
I'm doing good. I sent you a text this morning when we cooked this up. I'm guessing you've been a spectator on the weekends with your son, baseball wise, right?
Well, we were off to a good start with Little League Baseball and got a chance to be a Little League dad for about 3 weeks. And then Brady, unfortunately, had a freak accident where he got his hand hooked onto a piece of chain link in a dugout while celebrating with some of his teammates and cut his hand from his index finger all the way through his palm. So we've been on the disabled list for the better part of 3 weeks now, and don't know if we'll get back this summer or not, but hopefully his hand will heal up and he'll be okay. But yeah, we were off to a good start. Was having some fun watching him play and taking in the little league scene. That was a good replacement for baseball, at least on the weekends. But yeah, I had the old unfortunate summertime accident, and we've been grounded a little bit, kind of working from home and hoping his hand will heal up, and finding all kinds of things to do as a family to kind of stay busy, and just take advantage of this weird year where we have more time
Yeah.
together than ever before.
Well, and I hate that for Brady. I hope everything's okay for a good recovery.
Yeah, he was lucky. The Children's Hospital doctors were incredible down in Oklahoma City, and had a little hand specialist in to see his hand right away the day we took him in when it happened. We were playing down at the Battlefield, I believe it's called, or something to that nature, down in Midwest City area when it happened. And doctors treated him awesome, stitched him up, and just waiting to make sure that the nerves in his hand kind of respond and that there's no need for any surgery. But yeah, it was scary deal. You never
Yeah.
sitting in the stands and seeing a kind of a strange injury when the kids are in the dugout. That was caught us off guard, but we had great doctors and they treated him awesome. So we're grateful for that.
Yeah, you never know with kids, and I mean, when Zach was growing up, he had some legitimate ones. He got hit by a kid from Westmore that I think has gone on to pitch in the pros, and that cracked an elbow. So that was legit. The one where he was at a pool party and got hit in the wrist with a one of those those balls that soak up the water, and yeah, and he had a little wrist problem because of that. And I'm like, really, with one of the I mean that's but yeah, I hate that for Brady because I know he wants to be out there so bad. Speaking of your guys that are playing, I know I talked to Karen Fansoccer, who's a good friend of mine. Roman, one of your pitchers, is pitching in the summer Oklahoma Collegiate League that's kind of started up. Have you got very many kids playing in that?
Well, we've got some guys that were able to stay in pretty decent shape during the quarantine part of March, April, and May. That felt like by June they were in good enough shape to resume some baseball. Other kids, depending on where they went, it wasn't as easy for them to stay in shape. But some of the kids that did are out playing and starting to slowly get on the mound for the first time in games. So we have a handful of guys out playing, Robert. These leagues have been coming and going. Many had good intentions and started up plans for the summer only to have to shut down, depending on where they're located and what those communities, fields, restrictions were. But I know in Oklahoma, this has probably been one of the more aggressive states. I don't know if aggressive is the right word, but it's been a state where more baseball has been played, both at the youth level and now at the high school, college level. So there are facilities opening back up, fields that are being used, and baseball that's being played. And a lot of these pop-up leagues where people saw a need for kids to play, they've put together what I believe to be a safe option. And a number of kids are out trying to play. Roman fan soccer for sure. I know a couple of our other pitchers I think are trying to jump in on some of those weekend leagues where they might go pitch an inning every weekend and just get back on the mound and play baseball. But it's been a little bit of a moving target all summer long, trying to find baseball leagues that are actually going to play. And most of those have to be kind of close by drive-in leagues, since host families and extensive travel is really not an option.
Now, big news yesterday, and we knew that I think we knew for the most part after the season was halted that a lot of your guys would be coming back. And yesterday, 6 of them come out and announce, I guess officially on Twitter, and it's some pretty good players. Cade Cabanis, who's outstanding, and Alex Garcia over at first base, Carson McCusker, big left fielder, Max Hewitt, Parker Scott, C.J. Varela, and then we also see that Ben Lieber opted to sign that. I guess what was the max, 20,000, and sign with the Cubs. So your thoughts on how this is shaking out for your ball club?
Well, I think it's shaking out the way that the kids want it to. In Ben's case, he graduated already, had a degree in hand, had put 5 strong years in here, and this was the opportunity for him to start his pro career. And I was excited for him and very supportive of that. I think it was the right decision for him. For the other guys, I think coming back to school is a good move. I think it's the right decision. I think they're getting a chance to all come back and finish school and graduate, which is a huge part of their life. And then from there, give us one heck of a senior year and get a chance to play professional baseball next year at this time. So I feel good about what the kids have decided. I think all of them had a chance to make a decision over the last 2 or 3 months to think about what they wanted. And that's all you ever look for as a coach, is making sure kids have some control of their fate, have some control of their decisions, have a vision of what they want out of, what. And in this case, it was certainly a strange year. I don't think any of them ever envisioned another year being available. But when it did, when it became a reality, it then gave them a chance to decide where to spend the next 12 months of their life. And right now, professional baseball just simply doesn't have a season to go play or any teams to house them. So being here on this campus, finishing school, and playing one more year here, these kids have kind of rallied around that idea as a group, and they're excited about it. And I'm excited they're coming back. I like those kids a great deal, have spent a long, long time with many of them, and they'll definitely form a strong group of leaders for our team heading into next year.
Yeah, I want to get you to talk about Caden and the way the Major League Baseball draft shook out last week, the abbreviated version. But before we do that, I think we need to pay homage to the fact that Cowboy fans, your baseball head coach was an all Big 12 all academic performer. And I think he's pretty good on the math side, too, and he's going to need to be. Last week, the NCAA took off the roster number restriction, and they also took away the minimum on scholarships because with all this, Josh, you and Rob and your entire staff, this is going to be a little bit of a jigsaw puzzle from a scholarship standpoint, right?
Well, we're pretty comfortable that we managed our roster going into the situation as we always have. I would say really conservatively. It's always been our goal to recruit to our specific needs and not over-recruit. So we felt like we had targeted the right players to come in and replace players that we expected to lose, whether it was to graduation or the draft or what have you. So as we went into this thing, we were probably in a lot better shape than most schools who recruit in large numbers. We're pleased that the kids coming back are all wanting to be back and can come back whole, which is important to us, that we honor our scholarships. That's a big part of how we've approached this. And that any of the kids that felt like their path to play was blocked by possible returning seniors or guys that did not sign pro, that they find a place to go play and keep themselves on the field moving towards their goals as well. So our roster is in good shape. We're healthy in terms of being able to feel good about the team and the talent we have, but we're also healthy in how we've been able to treat our kids, which is certainly the most important thing to me. That this is a program where kids are treated right, and so to combine that, the player experience and the kids working towards their goals, along with building a winning roster. Here we are in the middle of June. We feel comfortable. We feel good that we're healthy. Cowboy baseball is in a good spot. We've got a good roster full of good kids that are talented, and we feel like each kid that's been a part of this thing has a future that they're excited about. It's really all you can do, and to be able to do that inside of 11.7 scholarships and some roster limitations is no simple task. But hopefully we've got this thing kind of ironed out, and everybody can figure out what to do with June, July, and August and show up here healthy, ready to attack the school year when school opens.
Josh Holliday with us, and Caden Polkovich was drafted by Seattle, 78th pick. It's the high. I think it's the second highest maybe pick in your tenure as head coach. So that's certainly outstanding. And then I had kind of done a preview on our website on the draft and looked at your high school signees, and there were a couple of pitchers that were projected very likely to get picked, and for some reason did not. So how'd you feel like the way the draft went down? Certainly happy for Caden.
One second, Robert.
All right, Josh Holliday with us, and was going to have him comment on Caden Polkovich being picked. And
Robert, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Sorry, I had a little static in my phone.
No, that's good.
Well, I'm thrilled for Caden. My gosh, I mean, I think it's just fantastic for him that the draft worked out the way it did. He was in a short amount of time here. He was a pleasure to coach. Showed tremendous maturity and kind of who he'd grown into from the time we knew of him as a high school ball player until now. He grew up so much, and I'm so proud of him for the time he put in the classroom to get here, and obviously on the field he played awfully good. And he's a fun player. He would have been a lot of fun to watch over a whole season. But good for him. He was picked in a really nice spot in the draft by an organization in Seattle that probably is fond of Cowboy players because of the experience they've had with Donovan Walton and what a good player he's been for them. So just thrilled for Caden, and I think it was a good choice for them. As far as the rest of our guys coming in, we were able to go through the draft, and we've got a number of good players that are coming to campus that in a normal year with a full draft might have been kids that you stood to lose. As it's worked out, those kids are going to be here, and we're excited about them, as well as the guys in our program that weren't drafted that also would have been exposed to the draft in a normal year. So we've got some good talent. I think the Big 12, when you look across the campuses and the programs in the Big 12, it's going to be absolutely loaded next year. And we're going to have the kind of team that can roll up their sleeves and go to, compete with those teams. And I feel real good about it. But, yeah, we did. Our incoming class, along with our juniors that are coming in, we've got a nice, talented roster. And we're just going to coach them up and mold these guys into a highly functioning unit and go out and play great baseball together.
Yeah, I'm fired up because and he committed such a long time ago. I feel like he's been a commitment to the baseball program here for so long. But I coached Dominic Johnson in Little League football along with his dad, who played football here, and Dom is just, I mean, he is that Energizer Bunny kind of character that. I mean, he's up for anything, and he's fired up. And I mean, he's one of those guys. It's hard for me to imagine him having a bad day. He's always so excited about everything that's going on. So I'm excited to get him up here.
Well, no question. Dom's a explosive athlete. He's one of the faster kids in the country in the sport of baseball. He got great foot speed and quickness, and he's strong and very determined kid. And definitely a kid that the pro teams, I think, were honing in on in that 5-round draft. Had the draft gone another round or two, I'm sure he would have been selected, but I think he probably had a value on going to college that kept his price tag at a point where he wasn't signable in the rounds than the money that they had. So, the draft is about talent, but it's also about signability. And we had some kids that commitment to college was strong, and if they didn't get the dollars they were seeking, they were coming. And Dom's one of them, and there were several others. So that's a good thing for our roster. It's a good thing for college baseball. I think you will see tremendous talent across the country arriving on campus. And college baseball games they're gonna be exciting. There's going to be some really explosive athletes and some great arms to watch and enjoy. And they're good for our sport. And I think we're going to benefit from it because there's definitely a couple kids coming that in normal years may not have made it. And that's the case across multiple teams in our conference. And following the draft, you start looking around and say, hey, the Big 12 is going to have a real good infusion of talent coming on campus for 2021.
Last thing with Cowboys head baseball coach Josh Holliday, and I know my wife had not been to Stillwater for a while. We were up here last weekend together and drove around and yeah, and she wanted to see campus, and we drove by Obrate, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, it looks just as good as the pictures." And I showed her the training diamond on the side, and she goes, I could hit a home run on that. And I'm like, honey, it's an infield training diamond. The real one's inside the state. She goes, well, I know. I was just saying I could probably hit a home run there. I said, well, okay, maybe you could, but anyway. But we actually saw a few people coming out. I think maybe it kind of snuck in. And what can you tell us right now about anything you might know about how we might first debut the new ballpark?
Well, it certainly looks great. I've poked my head in a few times in the last 3 months just to get a glimpse of what's gone on, and great progress has been made. Obviously, there was some definite shutdown for a good amount of time, but I think some of the final touches are being put on it, and it looks great. I think other than the landscaping outside, which is going to be done here soon, it's gonna be ready to house the Cowboys, and hopefully this fall we'll be able to put something together to open it in a way that pays tribute to Mr. Obrate and his family and their gift and the gifts of others. So many people contributed. We want to do it right, and we want to officially bring those people here to provide a real thank you to them, and then see what fall camp looks like for us. Hopefully it's normal. Hopefully that getting the kids back on campus healthy and resuming practice as we've known it in the past is what we're going to do this fall. And if so, we'll just kind of go from there. But it is a beautiful place. I've driven by a handful of times, seen a lot of people looking through the gates and peeking in, and sometimes there's work going on inside it and people get in there and take pictures or whatever. But it's a fabulous place. It's every bit of what the pictures said it would be, if not more. And yeah, it's exciting at a time when you need to find some excitement. It provides it, that's for sure. But I'm hopeful and optimistic that this fall we can find a way to open it and bring the team into it and really just start that next chapter of Cowboy baseball.
Last thing briefly, I was watching, the long gone 30 for 30 last night, and that brought back a lot of memories. And again, because Zach was just he was playing junior high baseball, I think, back when that season went on. But how disappointing is what we're seeing here with the big leagues and leaguers? And I know your brother, he's been a part of that as a member of the Players Association, and I know it's really frustrating for fans because I think we'd all like to see baseball come back for even a short season before the summer ends.
Well, it's hard. I think when you follow the news and negotiations and the things that are coming out, it's easy to be swayed one side or the other. I think what people want is to see sports and competition and kind of start to slowly get back to normal. And good TV and good baseball helps all of us maybe start to move that direction. But for many, many years, as you know, there's been a strong negotiation between players and ownership in the sport of baseball. And about every 5 to 10 years. Unfortunately, it rears its head out, and next thing you know, there's a disagreement over the sharing of the revenues. But it's unfortunate, but it's part of the business of baseball, and it is a real thing. And I think the players for years have fought to get their equal share of the revenues, and the owners, as business models, have fought to keep their side. And right now, it sounds like they're trying to split some hairs to get this thing worked out. And I'm optimistic that the people involved are smart enough to realize that no baseball would be a loss for everybody, and to try to find a way to play baseball, one that's not going to put anyone at risk, but two, that both sides can agree on. And now, what those details are, I'm not privy to them, so I won't judge. But I do know that it's a tough thing for the public to understand, because here people are out busting their tail to regroup financially and start life kind of back up and normal. And it's a bad look when you see these things on TV, but it's a deep business, and it has been for years. And the players and the owners have always had this kind of combative piece of the baseball history. So it's hopefully something they're going to get by, because I know I sure would enjoy turning on the TV and seeing some baseball. And I've watched every rerun on MLB Network and every College World Series replay for the past month. So I would love it like everyone else. But we'll see, Robert. I don't know. It's a complicated situation.
Yeah, I've watched a lot of good games on rerun. How about this? I just last week I caught that movie A Little Big League again, and a few days later in the draft, the lady who played the mom in that movie, her real son gets drafted in the Major League Baseball draft. That's crazy.
Great foreshadowing right there.
That's awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, tell Brady we're thinking about him, and let's make sure and say some prayers that hand gets healed up good, and best to you and your wife, your daughter, and your mom, your dad, your brother, everybody, for a safe rest of the summer, and hopefully we'll see you at that brand spanking new yard this fall.
That would be great, Robert. I appreciate you having me on.
Hey, I appreciate you coming on, and looking forward, like you say, it could be a very, very, it will be a very memorable baseball season for Oklahoma State when we get back out there.
You got it. Okay. Have a good week.
All right. Josh Holliday,